Hello everyone, I'm Leapday, and today I'm going to be drawing my Goop Wally AU animation while I answer some questions sent to me on my Instagram. Just a warning in advance, the screen will have flashing colors and the frames I'm drawing will flicker. Alright, so I think first for anyone who might be new, and also for the people who already follow me, I'll just give a general summary of the AU. It basically was started because I was like, hey, what's this mysterious black goopy portal thing on the Welcome Home website? And when I started to read the backstories that we had been given by Clown on the neighbors, I'm like, these are kind of spooky and Eldritch-like if you really wanted to take it in that direction. But, you know, I really like fluff. So, like, what if Eldritch creature abilities and powers plus fluffy storyline? There's a bit of angst, but, you know, for the most part, I want to keep it pretty lighthearted. So that's kind of a general gist of it. Right now, the story for the AU that for Goop Wally, it's only the beginning. We are currently looking at Barnaby and Wally growing up. Go check out my Instagram or my Tumblr or TikTok for more details on the AU if you haven't already. And if you really like what I do and you want to maybe leave me a tip, my Ko-fi is going to be linked down in the description and listed at the end of this video, along with all of my other socials. Anyway, on to the questions. So, first one that I got, when did Wally go fully solid? Technically, I guess this could be getting into spoiler territory, but he doesn't. Like, he's always going to be goopy, but he's holding his form together, kind of like he's a shell, maybe, and keeping all of his goopiness inside. So, he's always goop, he's just, like, sometimes more solid goop. You kind of know that, like, starch substance that, like, on impact is really hard, but, like, when it's, like, able to just run, it's super liquidy. That's kind of how he operates. So, he's never, like, technically fully solid, always goop. Next question. How is he oh so silly and darling? Well, I think Clown has answered on Tumblr how Wally is just so darling, but he's just a silly little guy. He's just a silly little guy. That's all I can say on that matter. Do Barnaby and Wally go to school in the AU? This is a really good question. And it kind of highlights how when I'm making this story, I'm just making a lot of this stuff as hold on. I am making up a lot of this stuff as I go. I have some basic concepts of where I want the story to go, but I don't know all the details on how to get there until I like sit down and make the art. So I've kind of thrown around this idea of whether or not they're gonna go to school. It would make sense Barnaby goes to school. So like I think it would be kind of weird if I don't include some sort of in-universe explanation. So the answer to that is probably, but I haven't figured out the logistics. Does Goop Wally know what a pizza is and what is his favorite toppings? So this is something I wanted to do with a comic about ice cream from a prior ask. Wally does learn what pizza is. As for favorites, for a while, Wally kind of picks whatever Barnaby picks. Barnaby is going to be the person Wally learns much about the world from, so whatever Barnaby ends up eating on his pizza is probably what Wally's going to eat. He doesn't entirely do favorites because he's just learning about the world. Next question. What's my favorite color palette? I really like a lot of palettes and colors. but I really like the idea of duality, which I think really comes out in Goop Wally, is having really dark colors contrast with like really light and pastel and vibrant and lively colors. So whatever that palette is, that's probably my favorite to work with. Would Goop Wally ever own a pet, and what kind? I don't think Goop Wally would own a pet. I think his approach to things, like, he would just try and make friends with everything, but he wouldn't have a pet, and, like, he kind of lacks an idea of ownership, maybe? I don't know quite how to explain that. So, no, I don't see Wally having a pet. He just kind of lets animals do their thing, and he tries to coexist with them. Am I going to do another live drawing soon? I do plan to do a live drawing, but I am going to wait until I'm back in school where there's better internet and I can have a better setup. So probably not for a few months, but I do plan to do some more soon. And I think that ties in with another question about uploading on this channel. I don't know how often I'll be able to upload, but it is something I've had an interest for a few years. And I would also like to do, maybe upload my live streams on here, and maybe even live stream on YouTube, as well as do my videos of me doing watercolors, maybe even tutorials if that's something people are interested in. So uploads aren't going to be really frequent on this channel, but I do plan to make more than just this one video. Now for a question I've been asked a few times at this point. Where did Goop Wally come from? I still don't have a great answer for this. When I came up with this AU, I wasn't really thinking of an origin for him. It was just kind of a what-if scenario. Kind of the answer I've been going with is he just emerged from, like, the core of the earth and just kind of slowly trickled up until he arrived in that little pond that Barnaby found him in. Yeah, that's it. I'm more focused about, like, what to do with these characters in the present and moving towards the future. Some of them, their past is more influential than others, but for Goop Wally, I don't really see it as super significant. Next question, how long did it take you to learn watercolor? I remember that it was so hard at first. If you look back at the very first post that I made on Instagram as leapdayowo, they're watercolor, and that was like 6, almost 7 years ago. So I've always been on and off working with watercolor. I'm mostly self-taught, so I don't have resources that I can really recommend, so it's just been practice, figuring out what works, what doesn't work. I use Winsor & Newton watercolors, which I really like, and I was drawn to watercolor because it seemed like the closest I could get to all of the digital speed paints that I watched people do when I was younger. And I didn't have any way of doing digital art for such a long time that I'm like, I'll do watercolor. And it's much easier in my opinion compared to oil paint or acrylic because, like, it's not so thick and sticky. So, like, it's just more fun to work with, and I just practice and practice and practice. And you can always take the color away by adding a bit of water, wiping it away, which I think is helpful, but some people, they don't like that as much. I did get a question asking about my real name and my age. I don't feel comfortable disclosing the details of either of those. Just refer to me as Leap or Leap Day, whatever combination. And if you're worried about my age, I'll just say I'm a young adult. I'm around college student age. Next question, is there a home for Wally? Wally does end up living with Miss Beagle and Barnaby, and then later on in adulthood, he ends up living in the neighborhood. So he does end up having a home, but for now, he just lives in the pond. I got another question asking, why are you so freaking amazing? And I don't know. I think that's really sweet that you think so. I just try and be my genuine self. What's been playing as I answered those two questions has been the final animation. 4 seconds on loop. Look at Barnaby go. That's gonna be all from me. Thanks for watching. And these are all of my socials, and consider supporting me on Ko-fi. Bye!